Discover how a broken immigrant, against all odds, built an empire and transformed lives forever. Maria stepped off the bus, her heart racing as she took in the chaotic beauty of Los Angeles. The streets buzzed with energy, vibrant murals splashed across chipped walls, and the sweet aroma of street food wafting in the air reminded her of home. In her pocket, she clutched a few crumpled dollars, her only lifeline. She felt small against the towering buildings, yet the flicker of hope inside her burned bright. This was her chance. Her thoughts drifted to El Salvador, where her mother worked tirelessly to provide a better life. Maria remembered the long nights spent in their small kitchen, the warmth of fresh-baked pan dulce cradled in her hands like a promise. Resilience and loyalty, her mother would say. Those words echoed in her mind, casting shadows on the doubts creeping into her heart as she navigated the bustling streets. Things weren't easy. With every step, Maria faced stares laden with prejudice. The language barrier loomed over her like a heavy fog, each word she struggled to pronounce seeming to snatch the will from her lungs. Yet, she pressed on, determined to reclaim her family's bakery, La Esperanza. It had once stood as a beacon of hope in her community, but now it loomed over her like a ghost, choking under heaps of debt and dwindling customers. One night, sitting in the dim light of the bakery, she felt the weight of her family's legacy pressing down on her. Her mother's sacrifices flashed before her eyes. "I can't let it die," she whispered to the empty space around her. Just then, the door creaked open, and a charismatic figure stepped inside. The man introduced himself as Diego, a wealthy investor with glimmering eyes and a proposition that made Maria's heart sink yet soar. "Partner with me and I can save this place," he said, tempting her with visions of success. But the price of his assistance? A compromise of her family's core values. Maria felt torn. What was the point of security if it meant betraying her mother's dreams? Just as her mind began to swirl with uncertainty, Maria forged ahead, reaching out to the community. Together, they revived La Esperanza, transforming it into a hub teeming with hope, laughter, and an array of faces that mirrored her own struggles. Yet, as racial tensions began to simmer, doubts crept in. Were they truly fighting for their roots, or was she leading them away from the very essence of home? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With tempers rising and murmurs of dissent echoing from the very community she yearned to uplift, Maria stood at a crossroads. The bakery that had once served as a symbol of her dreams threatened to become a source of division. Whispers of betrayal danced on the wind, casting shadows over the hope she had forged. Faced with her community's doubts and her family's wavering faith, Maria wondered, could she truly reclaim her family's legacy, or would her dreams shatter everything she loved? A storm was brewing on the horizon, and with each tick of the clock, the stakes grew higher. Anxiety twisted in Maria's stomach as she stood behind the counter of La Esperanza, the warm scent of freshly baked bread filling the air. The bakery was alive, yet a cloud hung over her head. Customers chatted and laughed, but Maria heard none of it. Instead, the whispers of discontent became a deafening roar in her ears. "Why are we changing the recipes? We need to preserve our heritage," a woman shouted, causing heads to turn. Maria recognized her as Rosa, a longtime customer who had always revered the traditional pastries. The others murmured in agreement, their eyes casting judgment. "I just want to appeal to more people," Maria murmured, hoping her words would soothe the rising storm. But the softness in her tone was drowned by the weight of resentment in the room. Then a voice cut through the tension. "You've forgotten us, Maria." It was Javier, the local florist and her childhood friend. "This bakery is our lifeline. We need the bread our mothers made, not some trendy flavors." His words struck like a knife. Maria felt a lump rise in her throat. Had she really lost sight of what La Esperanza was meant to be? The vision she had for the bakery, the light, the community was becoming a blur. Diego's influence swirled in her mind like smoke, blurring the pure intentions she had when she first opened the doors. Silence engulfed the room, thick and unyielding. The faces that had once beamed with excitement now displayed disappointment and anger. In that silence, the truth sank in: she was losing them. The very people she fought for were slipping away because they felt abandoned. Taking a deep breath, Maria stepped forward, a spark igniting within her soul. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice steadying. "I can't forget where I come from. La Esperanza will continue our traditions. We will preserve the recipes that have brought us together." Relief washed over the crowd, but Maria felt a new weight settle on her shoulders. She had to mend what was broken. Let us come together and create something beautiful that honors our past and embraces our future. We can have both. There was a shift. Hope flickered in the air. Rosa's face softened. "If that's really how you feel, we can work together." A gentle smile broke across her lips, easing the tension. Maria could feel something solid returning, like a warm embrace as agreement passed through nods and murmurs. Maria's heart lightened. She envisioned community meetings where traditions would be celebrated alongside evolution. But just as resolve began to fill her spirit, a chilling thought crept back. Would Diego accept her decision? She still owed him. Later that night, in the dim light of her small apartment, anxiety clawed at her insides as she picked up the phone. She needed to confront Diego, but what would she say? How could she explain her change of heart without ending what little security he had offered? Just then, the doorbell rang. A quick glance at the clock told her it was much too late for business. Her heart raced as she approached the door, her breath caught in her throat. She opened it to find Diego standing there, a storm brewing in his eyes. "Maria," he said, his voice dripping with curiosity and something more. "We need to talk." What did he want now? Maria's pulse quickened. Did he come to demand his due, or was he here to fight for La Esperanza as well? The uncertainty weighed heavily on her. In that moment, she knew she was on the brink of something monumental, not just for her bakery, but for her identity, her community, and her dreams. But would she be able to stand firm, or would she fold under the pressure? The future hung in delicate balance, and Maria felt the two paths diverging before her. Maria's heart thudded as she searched Diego's face, trying to find a clue about what was coming. His brows were knit tight, and the shadows dancing across his features intensified the seriousness of his intentions. She stepped aside, gesturing him to come in, but fear gnawed at her. "I didn't expect to see you," she said, struggling to keep her voice steady. "I know," Diego replied, his eyes scanning the dimly lit apartment. "I wanted to give you time to think, but I couldn't wait any longer. You made a decision today, didn't you?" Maria swallowed hard. "I did." The words tasted like betrayal on her tongue, but they had burst forth as if she had no choice. "I can't change the recipes. I need to honor our traditions." "Traditions?" Diego scoffed, his voice rising. "Traditions won't pay the bills, Maria. You're throwing away a chance to elevate La Esperanza, to make it successful on a broader scale." Success. The word rolled off his tongue with the kind of ease that made her skin crawl. It was a definition that felt hollow to her now. "So it's about money then?" She shot back, a fire igniting within her. "I thought we were talking about community, about what matters to us, to our roots." "Money is part of the equation," he argued. "You think I don't care about your community? I'm trying to help you grow, to reach new customers. There's a world out there that we can tap into." But as he spoke, Maria felt something else, a burning desire to protect what was hers. La Esperanza was not just a business. It was a testament to her mother's sacrifices, the stories and laughter that came with every loaf of bread. "I know you mean well," she ventured, taking a breath. "But my heart is not just in the profits. It's in the connections we have with each other, the warm smiles that come with every pastry. I can't lose that." Silence enveloped them. She looked into Diego's eyes, searching for understanding, but all she saw was frustration. "Maria, please listen to me," he finally said, his voice softer but laced with urgency. If you lose sight of the business side, you might lose everything. La Esperanza, your dreams, even your standing in this community. You're risking it all for nostalgia. Maria felt a cold wave of doubt wash over her. Had she overstepped? Was she really risking everything? But what about what I'm trying to build? She whispered, feeling tears prick her eyes. In a world that constantly changes, can't we hold on to some piece of ourselves? He reached out and touched her arm, his grip gentle yet firm. I want to support you, but we need to find a way to balance both worlds. Let us sit down together and figure this out. Desperation clawed at her insides. Sitting down meant compromising, and compromise felt like a betrayal of her heritage. Yet deep down she feared losing him too. Let us just take a step back, Maria suggested, her voice trembling. I need to think. I can't make decisions like this with my heart still so heavy. I get it, Diego replied, stepping back and exhaling slowly. But don't take too long. There's more at stake than just your bakery. As he turned to leave, Maria felt the weight of his words pressing hard against her chest. You'd have my mother's recipes along with the new ideas, she called after him, her voice barely above a whisper. Can we do both? He paused, glancing back with a flicker of hope in his expression, and nodded slowly. It's a start, but I need you to trust me. As he closed the door behind him, Maria stood alone, the silence swallowing her whole. What if he was right? What if she truly was risking everything she had fought for? Outside, the community buzzed. People were gathering. Laughter filled the street. But Maria felt an invisible wall, separating her from the joy. She knew this was just the beginning of a much bigger battle. How could she navigate the storm brewing inside her without losing the very essence of who she was? And as she stood there, uncertain and alone, another question tugged at her heart. If she could find a way to honor her past, would it help her build a better future? The stakes were high, and the thought made her stomach churn with a mix of excitement and dread. Tomorrow she would have to step back into the fray. But what would that mean for La Esperanza, for her, and for the community counting on her? The answers loomed large, and Maria prayed she would be ready for whatever came next. Maria woke the next morning, the sun filtering through the curtains, illuminating fragments of yesterday's conversation. Her heart felt heavy, tangled in a web of hope and fear. She could still hear Diego's passionate voice echoing in her mind, urging her to embrace change. Could she really blend the old with the new without losing herself in the process? The aroma of freshly baked bread wafted in from the kitchen, awakening her senses. It was comforting, a reminder of the love that went into every loaf. Yet today felt different. The ingredients were the same, but they lacked the warmth they usually brought her. As she walked to the kitchen, she felt the weight of her decisions pressing down like an unyielding stone. Her hands moved automatically, preparing the dough, but her mind was elsewhere. She kneaded with purpose, trying to release the tension built up overnight. But every roll and fold reminded her of her mother's hands, guiding hers through the family recipes. What would she say if Maria were to stray from tradition? Would she be proud, or would disappointment linger in the air like a burnt crust? As the dough rested, she shuffled over to the small table where a collection of her mother's handwritten recipes lay. Each yellowing page told a story of celebration, of struggle, of unity. Maria felt her resolve waver. Was this all worth it? With a mix of urgency and fear, she dialed Diego's number, her heart racing as she listened to the rings. Would he even want to talk? What would she say? Hey Maria, he answered, his voice calm yet warm. Diego, she breathed out, a wave of relief washing over her. I've been thinking maybe we can meet? I want to talk about everything. Of course. His enthusiasm flared, brightening her mood, even if just a little. How about the cafe on 4th around 2? I'll be there. As she hung up, an unexpected rush of hope surged within her. Maybe finding balance was possible. But would merging her mother's legacy with Diego's vision create something beautiful? Or would it feel like tearing apart a cherished quilt? Time moved swiftly. By 2 o'clock, the cafe buzzed with chatter and laughter. The smell of coffee and baked goods enveloped her like a warm hug, but anxiety tightened its grip around her. Diego spotted her right away, his smile easing some of the tension in her chest. They found a quiet corner, and she could see his excitement brimming. "Thank you for coming," he said, and she could feel sincerity in his words. "I couldn't stop thinking about what you said," she replied, her voice steady, yet quiet, about balancing traditions with new ideas. "I want to find a way to do it, but I don't know how." He leaned forward, eyes shimmering with determination. "What if we invite the community into the process? Let them be part of the journey, let them taste and give feedback. We can keep your mother's recipes at the heart while adding new flair." The spark of an idea ignited in her mind. Like a community tasting event, they could vote on new flavors, keep the traditional ones as staples. Yes. His excitement was contagious. "We can involve everyone. This way they'll feel they have a voice in our story. It'll bring us all together." Maria felt her pulse quicken, adrenaline mixing with the joy of envisioning the possibilities. Could this be the bridge she needed to connect the past with the future? Yet, even as the plan took shape, doubt flickered in her mind. What if the changes alienated those who cherished her mother's recipes? "Diego, what if they don't embrace the new ideas?" she asked, her brows knitted with concern. "If they see that we're honoring the past, they might surprise you," he encouraged gently. "Change can be hard, but it can also be beautiful." The tension began to ease, replaced by a burgeoning excitement and fear of the unknown. As they began to sketch out plans, ideas danced between them, a symphony of tradition and innovation. Maria felt the walls around her heart gently crumbling. But just as hope began to bloom within her, a voice broke through the hum of the cafe. "Maria, there you are." It was Clara, the neighborhood matriarch, holding a faded recipe card. "I was looking for you. We need to talk about the upcoming bake sale." The mention of the bake sale sent a wave of anxiety crashing over her. Could she really stand by her decision and face scrutiny from her community? What if Clara didn't approve of her ideas? And just like that, Maria stood at yet another crossroads, unsure of the path ahead. Would her commitment to embrace change resonate with the community, or would it pull her away from the very people she sought to serve? Tomorrow would bring challenges. But today, she took a step towards transformation, feeling the pulse of her dreams align with her heritage. Would it be enough for La Esperanza to thrive? The next chapter of her story awaited, filled with uncertainty but also the hope of possibility. Would change lead to harmony or chaos? Maria could hardly wait to find out. Clara's presence loomed over Maria like a shadow, reminding her of all the weight that came with maintaining tradition. With the recipe card still in hand, Clara smiled warmly, but there was an edge in her gaze. "I wanted to discuss our plans for the bake sale next month. I've been thinking about showcasing your late mother's recipes. Everyone loved them so much, you know?" Of course, Maria managed, plastering a smile on her face, but inside, her heart thudded in a panicked rhythm. The bake sale was sacred, a community tradition where families gathered over food, laughter, and stories. But now, could her vision find a place in this familiar tapestry? "Maybe we could even add a new twist this year," Clara continued, oblivious to Maria's inner turmoil. "I think our customers expect to see those tried-and-true flavors. We've sold out every year because of them." The tension in Maria's chest tightened like a vice. Was Clara suggesting that Maria abandon everything she had just begun to cultivate with Diego? A part of her longed for the reassurance of her mother's old recipes, their comfort a warm blanket on a cold day. Yet, another part whispered of innovation and excitement. With an attempt to ground herself, Maria cleared her throat. "What if we do a combination? Keep the traditional recipes as staples, but include a selection of new flavors that people can vote on during the event." Clara's eyes narrowed slightly. "New flavors? Maria, I worry the community might not be ready for that. Tradition has kept La Esperanza alive. It's what people expect when they walk through that door. Are we to hide from change forever?" Maria directed her tone with careful steadiness. "This community has faced changes before. We can honor my mother's legacy while adapting to what people crave today." For a moment, Clara's expression softened. Maria saw a flicker of understanding, a glimpse of the struggles Clara had faced in preserving their culture in an ever-evolving world. But the shadow of doubt remained. Change can be scary, dear, Clara said gently. People fear losing what they know, and your mother's recipes are cherished. Maria's heart ached at the words. Every instinct within her wanted to argue to reassure Clara while full of uncertainty herself. Maybe we can showcase both, Diego interjected, appearing as her steadying anchor. He had been listening quietly and now placed a hand on Maria's arm. Let us have a corner dedicated to traditional recipes, and right next to it, a space for the new ideas. That way, it feels like a celebration, a tribute to the past and an embrace of the future. A silence fell over the table as Clara considered this. The cafe hummed around them, the chatter of families and friends providing a vibrant backdrop to their meeting. It felt electric, with the potential for change brushing against the familiar. Finally, Clara nodded slowly, albeit hesitantly. All right, Maria, I trust you, but I'll need you to reassure the others. We can't afford to lose anyone at our bake sale. The weight of expectation settled back onto Maria's shoulders yet again, but this time it felt different. Clara was willing to consider her vision. The blend of fear and hope sent a shiver down her spine as they wrapped up their discussion. Maria's heart buzzed with anticipation and uncertainty. She could feel the momentum of change, a ripple that might happen through her community, like the gentle push of a rising tide. Thank you, Clara, Maria said, the words barely scraping past her lips. I'll do my best to make sure everyone feels involved in this. Clara stood to leave, glancing back at Maria. Remember, dear, you are not alone. We are all part of the legacy. As Clara walked away, Diego smiled encouragingly at her. Yet Maria could sense the weight of her next steps. She had ventured into the territory of change, but now faced the task of uniting old hearts with new ideas. Would the community rally behind her, or would they cling too tightly to the familiar? As the cafe's warmth enveloped her, the questions lingered in the air, keeping her pulse racing. Tomorrow, she would face the town, invite them to taste, to engage, to share, hoping they'd welcome her vision with open arms. Was she bold enough for this journey? Would La Esperanza thrive again, or would she face an awakening filled with resistance and regret? The next chapter was unfolding, and oh, how she wished she could steel herself for what lay ahead. The sun rose the next day, spilling golden light into Maria's kitchen. It felt both hopeful and daunting as she stood there, flour dust settling on her cheeks, heart thumping with anticipation. Today would mark the beginning of her outreach to the community. She placed the well-worn recipe cards on the counter, her mother's neat handwriting a testament to generations before her. There were handwritten notes on the edges, little tips and tricks that had been passed down like heirlooms. Each card whispered memories of warmth, laughter, and sharing. And yet, Maria knew she had to mix in something new, a breath of fresh air to honor those memories without suffocating under them. Diego walked in with 2 steaming mugs of coffee, setting one beside her. Are you ready? He asked, his voice a soothing rhythm that steadied her nerves. Maria took a deep breath, nodding. I think so. I just wish I knew how to make everyone understand. They're so rooted in tradition. Their roots are deep, but you'll show them that innovation doesn't uproot the past. It enriches it. Diego's eyes sparkled with belief in her vision, igniting the fire within her. Together, they began crafting an array of experimental treats. Inspired by her mother's recipes, Maria infused local flavors with the traditional ones. The spicy kick of jalapenos met the sweetness of her mother's old chocolate cake, testing the edges of culinary boundaries. Maria felt the excitement course through her as she added new ingredients and ideas, a roadmap toward a balanced future. As they worked, Maria imagined the bake sale a swirl of aromas, laughter, and tentative smiles as old loyalties mingled with fresh ideas. Would they hesitate? Yes. But with every taste, she hoped they would warm to the possibility of change. Later that morning, Maria gathered herself. She had created a flyer with enticing images of her offerings, a visual feast that invited curiosity. With it, She planned to canvass the local shops and cafes, inviting her neighbors to participate in something unprecedented. As she stood outside the first shop, shaking slightly from nerves, a familiar face turned down the alley. It was Clara, her expression unreadable. Maria stepped forward, heart racing. "Clara, I have something to show you," she said, holding up the flyer with a shaky hand. Clara took it carefully, studying the illustrations. "You're serious about this, aren't you?" "I am," Maria replied, feeling her determination harden under Clara's scrutiny. "I want us to celebrate my mother's recipes, but I want to introduce some new flavors too. Taste them together, see how they can coexist." Clara's brow furrowed, and for an agonizing moment, Maria feared rejection. "They won't easily accept change, Maria. You have to know that." "Then let me show them," Maria insisted, voice gaining strength. "Let us create something that honors our roots but also embraces what we can become. Just a taste. That's all I ask." Clara hesitated, the tension palpable. Finally, her shoulders relaxed ever so slightly. "All right, I think it could work. But we need to be strategic. Invite families, make it a full gathering, a community event. They'll need a reason to be there." Relief washed over Maria like rain on parched earth. "Thank you, Clara. I promise you won't regret it." They turned back to the cafe, the promise of collaboration buzzing between them. But as she walked, doubt draped over her shoulder again. Would the community really embrace this vision? Would they choose to taste, or would they turn away? That evening, Maria sat at her kitchen table, the remnants of their baking scattered across the surface. The scent of cinnamon filled the space as she wrote an invitation for the tasting event. Each word was a thread connecting her past to her hopes for the future. She closed her eyes, visualizing the bake sale, the laughter, and love. As she sealed the invitation, another thought flickered, a nagging sense that Clara's support wasn't the only challenge ahead. The town had always been steadfast, but what if they resisted? Tomorrow Maria would walk through the town, bearing her heart and soul in her creations. She would share stories with each bite and reach for the support of her community. But deep down, fear gnawed at her. What if, in trying to blend the old with the new, she risked losing it all? Tomorrow felt vast in its uncertainty, but the fire of her hopes sparked a light within her. She had to believe that with every taste, she could pave the way for something remarkable. Yet, even as she prepared for the bake sale, a sense of foreboding loomed. What if the familiar faces she loved turned away from her new visions? Would she be able to bring them along for the ride? The clock ticked steadily, counting down the hours to an event that felt like a leap into the unknown. And Maria couldn't shake the feeling that this journey was just beginning. The next morning dawned bright and alive, but the sun shone like an uninvited guest invading the sanctuary of her thoughts. Maria stood in front of the mirror, trying to rally her courage. The reflection of her own uncertain smile seemed like a ghost of her mother, a silent wish for her to succeed. She adjusted her apron, an anchor to her past, and took a long, deep breath. Diego joined her, bringing with him the aroma of fresh coffee. "You've got this," he said, his voice filled with warmth. "Remember, they'll taste your passion before they taste your pastries." Maria nodded but felt the worry pull on her heartstrings. With each second ticking away, she felt the weight of expectations thrumming in her chest. Would they understand that she didn't want to erase their memories, but to build new ones around the old? As she stepped outside, the crisp morning air pinched her cheeks, a stark reminder of the world beyond her kitchen. She held the invitations tightly, feeling the pulse of the paper against her fingers. The neighborhood felt familiar yet foreign, like a beloved book she hadn't picked up in years. She started her rounds, handing out flyers. The first stop was Mrs. Lopez's flower shop, where the scent of fresh blooms engulfed her. "Maria." Mrs. Lopez's face lit up like a burst of sunshine. "What is this?" "It's a baking event to celebrate tradition but with new twists," Maria explained, her cheeks warming as she shared her vision. "New twists? My family is very traditional, you know that," Mrs. Lopez replied, her voice a mix of curiosity and caution. "Exactly." Maria leaned in, the spark of hope igniting again. I want to honor the past while exploring the flavors of our community today. A tasting, where everyone can share their thoughts. Mrs. Lopez scrutinized her for a moment, then nodded slowly. All right, I will come, but you must bring your best. Next, Maria traversed to the local market, where Mr. Ramirez stacked ripe tomatoes. His wiry frame contrasted with the robust produce he tended, a testament to many seasons of hard work. Mr. Ramirez, I have an invitation for you, she called, holding out the flyer. Maria? He squinted, intrigued. What are you cooking up? Community bake sale. It'll blend the traditional with a bit of modern flair. She anticipated the frown but was surprised when he cracked a smile. I always said change isn't bad. As long as you remember where you came from. I'll bring my family. With each interaction, Maria gathered small victories. But as noon approached, she felt the sting of doubt creeping back. What if it wasn't enough? Would they really embrace her ideas? Or were they simply being polite? A little girl can dream, she muttered to herself, glancing at the swirling clouds above. As she reached the final stop, the community center, she paused, heart racing. This place held memories as thick as the gathering clouds. Many childhood afternoons merged here, celebrations, potlucks, and laughter echoing off the walls. Today it felt like a tipping point. She entered, only to find Clara adjusting a banner for their gathering. Her friend looked up, her expression a mixture of excitement and apprehension. You ready for this? Clara asked, gauging Maria's spirit. I am, but Maria trailed off, biting her lip. What if they don't like it? Just then, an unexpected voice chimed in behind them. Change is hard, but you need to let them taste the future. It was Mr. Navarro, the town's unofficial historian. His wise eyes glimmering with encouragement. Maria's heart swelled. You really think they'll embrace what I'm trying to do? If there's one thing I've learned, Maria, it's that flavor can bridge even the deepest divides. He smiled, and for the first time that day, Maria felt a flicker of confidence spark anew. But then, a shadow crossed her mind again. What if not everyone welcomed the changes? As she helped set up for the event, doubts lingered like the autumn chill. With each passing moment, anxiety tightened its grip around her heart. Would they appreciate what she hoped to create? Would they see her as someone striving to unite them, or as a stranger threatening their traditions? The bake sale was mere hours away, and the first guests were beginning to trickle in. Maria tied her apron tighter and whispered a silent prayer, a plea for strength to face what was coming. One choice, one moment could change everything. Would she find the courage to step forward, ready to share her heart? The answer felt just out of reach. And then, the event began. The first smile she saw warmed her like sunlight breaking through a cold morning. But would it last? As she set the table and prepared for the tasting, her uncertainty swirled in tandem with the excitement building around her. The moment of truth was here. Would she rise to the occasion, or falter under the weight of hope and fear? The chatter in the community center began to swell, a gentle hum that fluttered through Maria like the warm breeze from the open doors. People trickled in, necks craned, eyes wide with curiosity. Maria's heart raced as she glanced at the long table adorned with a colorful spread of baked goods. Each pastry was a labor of love: cinnamon rolls oozing with rich icing, delicate tarts crammed with fruits of the season, and decadent chocolate cakes layered thick and creamy. Each creation whispered her story, a blend of past and present, struggles and triumphs. Hey, come try these, Clara called out, her voice cutting through Maria's thoughts. Clara guided a young group of children to the table, their faces painted with surprise at the sight of cookie towers and pie stacks. Maria's breath hitched as the children giggled and reached for their first taste. She watched closely, their tiny hands grabbing with excitement, and for a split second, the world around her fell silent. Then, one boy sunk his teeth into a raspberry tart, his eyes lighting up. This is so good, he exclaimed, crumbs flying as he spoke. A ripple of laughter followed, and Maria felt a weight lift from her chest. They like it, she whispered to herself, a flicker of relief igniting hope. But soon after, The curious smiles of newcomers dissolved into wary glances from some faces she recognized. Older women murmured under their breaths, their eyes narrowing as they scrutinized the offerings. Maria's heart sank again. Would those whispers drown out the joy she had just witnessed? Diego approached, his presence like a balm to her fraying nerves. "Look at the kids. They're loving it," he said, nudging her gently. "What matters is how you're sharing your heart." She wanted to believe him but felt the hot rush of anxiety creep back. "Do you think they'll really embrace this?" The question slipped from her lips, laced with doubt. "Just be you. Tell your story. That's what they need to see," he replied. His voice steadied as if on cue. Mr. Navarro stepped forward, drawing attention to the group gathering around the table. "Everyone, this is Maria. She's worked hard to bring us together with her baking. Let's give it a try." He clapped his hands, and the sound reverberated through the hall, tugging at Maria's heart. Applause echoed softly as people hesitated, then started to share desserts, sampling bites here and there with cautious glee. She saw Mrs. Lopez leaning in, her eyes lighting up as she took in every pastry, nostrils flaring at the rich scents wafting in the air. "This is lovely, Maria. You've really outdone yourself," she called out, a hint of acceptance in her voice. Yet, there was no ignoring the lingering fissures that remained. Maria could sense the divide, those who were all in and those who remained skeptical. The thought hung heavy in her chest: what if the whispers turned into conversations that would diminish her effort? Taking a deep breath, she approached the small crowd. "Thank you all for coming. I wanted to create something where we could share flavors and stories. Each bite is part of our past, but it's also the future we can build together." A moment of silence greeted her words, and Maria's heart hammered in her chest. She felt exposed, vulnerable. Would they scoff at her openness? But then, slowly, Mrs. Lopez raised her fork, the vibrant raspberry tart balanced between her fingers. "Well," she said, taking a bite and chewing thoughtfully, "I couldn't agree more. We can mix tradition and daring together." She smiled, and soon laughter erupted anew. Encouraged by this response, Maria continued, "What I'm hoping for is that we can share our stories, not just our tastes. Every pastry, like every person, is a part of us." The chatter resumed, enveloping her in warmth. Maria's confidence grew with every interaction. She was opening a door and maybe, just maybe, they would step through it with her. But as the energy lifted, she caught a glimpse of a familiar face: Mr. Ramirez standing back by the entrance, arms crossed, the shadow of skepticism still marked in his brow. Would he bridge that gap, or would his silence keep the divide alive? The sunlight through the windows danced across the room, illuminating the potential for connections. Maria felt it again, that flicker of determination. Could she somehow reach even the last holdouts? In this moment of hope, would courage push her forward? The gathering buzzed around her, but one question poured into her mind. What would it take to turn every heart into an ally, to make them embrace her dreams? Maria could feel the energy in the room shift, swirling like the fading light of day. The initial applause still echoed in her ears, but as she stole another look at Mr. Ramirez, she sensed an impending tension. The way he stood there, a mountain of doubt, made her heart flutter in a mix of urgency and fear. What if his skepticism held sway over others? Diego, ever perceptive, must have sensed her growing unease. He leaned in closer and whispered, "What's on your mind, Mr. Ramirez?" She replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "He doesn't look convinced. Maybe he just needs to be part of this. Invite him to try something." Diego's encouragement was like a small spark, igniting a flicker of hope within her. Gathering her resolve, she straightened her back, the warmth of the crowd still bathing her in comfort. She took a step forward. "Mr. Ramirez," Maria called out, her voice stronger than she felt. Heads turned, and the chatter softened, all eyes on him. He hesitated, then approached, though his posture remained guarded. "What is it?" he asked, his tone direct yet searching, as if he expected critical questioning. "I'd love for you to try this chocolate cake. It's my grandmother's recipe," she said, attempting to weave a thread of connection. "It's rich, like our stories, layered in tradition and hope. Holding out a generous slice, she felt a rush of adrenaline. He studied the cake, then her eyes, before accepting the slice with a nod. Maria held her breath, watching him take that first bite. A moment passed, then one corner of his mouth twitched upwards, almost imperceptibly. Not bad, he admitted, a hint of something softening his gaze. Relief washed over her. Thank you. I want to share not just flavors but our histories, she replied, her voice gaining more momentum. I believe this community can come together through our traditions, no matter where we come from. Gradually, others began to crowd around once more, curiosity bubbling up as they caught a glimpse of Mr. Ramirez's subtle approval. Maria looked at the eyes of those surrounding her, the mixture of hope and hesitation. They were feeling the warmth, the lightness weaving through the air like the aroma of her pastries. But there was still the weight of the past lingering in shadows. Maria moved back to the center, taking a deep breath. We all have stories worth sharing, she continued, as more people began to join the vibrant conversation. Just like each ingredient has its purpose, so do our experiences. I want to hear your stories, too. At that moment, she caught sight of Clara chatting animatedly with a group, just the way Maria had imagined when planning this event. The laughter was infectious, rising like a balloon released into the sky. She couldn't ignore the drifting doubt, but the connections appeared real now, tangible, as if she could reach out and grab them. But then the laughter faltered momentarily as a voice broke through the coolness of skepticism lacing the words. Seems like you're really trying to sell us the dream, aren't you? It was Judith, a known critic of newcomers. Don't forget that some of us have seen dreams turn into nightmares. The air thickened instantly, the camaraderie hanging by a fragile thread. Maria's pulse quickened, her heart thudding like a drum in her chest. It was true, there had been tension, arguments within these very walls, stories of betrayal and mistrust spun like webs through the community. For a moment she hesitated. What could she say that would crack through that tough outer shell? Desperation seeped through her. All I want is a chance, she finally replied, her voice trembling but clear. A chance to help us all heal and grow together, creating something beautiful from our past. Silence engulfed the room. Maria held her breath, vulnerability washing over her in waves. She looked around, seeking encouragement from those she could feel rallying behind her. Would they help her turn this moment into something transformative? She took a bold step forward. Each of us carries a past, but that past doesn't dictate our future. Let us see where this journey can take us together. Will you stand with me? The question hung in the air, charged with anticipation. And in that discomfort, that uncertainty, where seeds of doubt mingled with the potential for connection, Maria felt something shift. Among the murmurs and shifting glances, there was a pulse of collective yearning for change. As she looked around, she sensed the community holding its breath, perched on the edge of possibility. But would they choose to dive in or pull back into familiar shadows? Maria's heart raced with possibility. This wasn't just about baked goods anymore. It was about hope, healing, and the courage to face the future together. She wondered, would they take that leap of faith, or would fear hold them back as it so often did? The energy in the room crackled like an electric current, and Maria's heart pounded as she waited for a response. She glanced around, catching glimpses of uncertainty etched on familiar faces. Yet, she sensed listening hearts, vulnerable as she was. Her mind raced, counting the seconds as she steeled her resolve, desperate for a breakthrough. Then Clara spoke up, her voice steady and strong. What do we really want for our community? To preserve our roots while evolving to meet our reality. I, for one, commend Maria for taking this step. A wave of murmurs swept through the crowd. The tension began to dissolve like sugar in warm water. Encouraged, Maria took a step forward. The warmth of Clara's support fueled her spirit. We can honor the recipes that have shaped us, my mother's heart and soul, and at the same time, explore what flavors can bring us closer. A hand shot up in the crowd. It was Judith again, but instead of scorn, there was a spark of curiosity. So, these new ideas aren't meant to erase our traditions, but to lift them up? Yes, Maria replied, her voice firm, lifting from a place deeper than fear. Together, we can celebrate who we are while welcoming new flavors that tell the stories of all of us. Our richness lies in our diversity. Slowly, she saw heads nodding, eyes softening, the kindness in her words sinking in. Another voice broke through the soft timbre of Mr. Ramirez. Change will take time, Maria, but if you bring us along, we might find something beautiful worth sharing. Maria smiled, tears pricking her eyes as the first wave of acceptance flowed through her. I want to honor your stories, she replied, her heart swelling with gratitude. Let us decide together what La Esperanza should mean moving forward. Let us create new recipes from old traditions, adding our histories to each dish. From the back of the hall, a smile widened on Clara's face, igniting hope like a bright flame. Laughter rippled through the crowd as they shared playful teasing about the new combinations. And even Judith allowed a smile as she whispered to her neighbor. All right, Maria, let us give this a shot. The atmosphere lifted, bubbling with the resurgence of laughter. For a moment, it felt like old times, like that same warmth that had always filled the bakery, like the light that beamed through her mother's kitchen. That as the tasting continued, more and more of the community dove into the flavors, their laughter blending like rich ingredients. Sweet and savory, each mouthful became an invitation to share stories, to reminisce about the past, eager to discover how they could shape the future together. Communal tables filled with not just pastries but connections being forged, hearts softening alongside their desserts. When the event began to wind down, Maria felt a twinge of sadness. Each moment had been a treasure, and she wished for it to last forever. But when she looked around, she saw something that made her heart soar. People were mingling, discussing new flavor ideas, and sharing their memories of the old times. Through her mother's recipes, through her journey from uncertainty to unity, they discovered that it wasn't just the baked goods bringing them together, it was the strength of their community. As the last guests trickled out, Diego enveloped Maria in a warm embrace. You did it, he whispered, pride radiating from him. You opened hearts. Tears of joy streamed down Maria's face, and she laughed through her relief. I was so afraid, but you faced that fear head-on, Diego praised. Just like your mother would have wanted. You've crafted something so much more than pastries. You revived hope, love, and a sense of belonging. Determined and radiant, Maria wiped her tears and looked out at the empty hall filled with remnants of laughter, passion, and dreams that had just begun to grow. We'll keep creating, growing together, she vowed. La Esperanza will honor the past while embracing the thrilling possibilities the future holds. And in that moment, Maria realized that she had not only transformed the bakery but had also transformed her community. With renewed strength and a heart full of hope, she felt ready for whatever lay ahead. Together, they would weave their legacies into something that would hold them through the ever-changing world. They had taken a brave leap into the unknown. They had chosen to stand together, becoming a family stitched with the threads of love, resilience, and joy. Maria stepped outside, the night sky twinkling above her like a canvas of new dreams. This was just the beginning. The realization settled within her, filling her with a profound sense of purpose. They had begun to write their new story, and she couldn't wait to see how it would unfold. Now, as you've witnessed the power of resilience and community through Maria's journey, it's your turn to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this amazing ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. You need to subscribe now.